And good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you are watching this. I'm Frank Spillers with Rural Community Solutions. Today, we're going to be talking about how do you engineer profit for your small business. There's steps you can take, things you can do, but if you're a business, if you're an entrepreneur that's just kind of going on the profit that you're making, stay tuned. We're going to be talking to the profit engineer and figure out how you can grow your business. Picture, if you will, the pure, raw prairie. No wires, no fences, no roads, not even a farmhouse. No sign of civilization. This is what a person saw that was crossing the prairie in a wagon more than 170 years ago. They jumped off the wagon, looked around, and declared, "This is where I want to settle and build a town. A great place to live and a great place to raise my family." So they took a risk. They built a house made out of the land, planted food to eat, and cared for the land. Then they wrote back to their friends where they came from and described the great opportunity and promise that they have found. They invited who they knew to join them in their discovery, people they had a relationship with, and so they came, family by family, and those families invited others they knew who they wanted to live with within that community. The communities grew because the needs of the families grew, so entrepreneurs started businesses to meet those community needs. Ice houses, broom factories, general stores, and many other types of sole proprietor entrepreneurial businesses started up within the community. All of our communities across this country, all around the world, were started in this way, with a vision of the future and a plan to grow with people. Boy, and grow with people they did, and they grew with businesses also. And if you're started a business and your interest in business was just making enough money to get by, then you can pass this episode. But if you're in business and you want to make a living, a dream life living, I'm going to introduce you to Jen Kline Clark. Jen is the profit engineer and coach extraordinaire. And I say that from personal experience. Jen has helped us. She helped us with our rebranding about a year and a half ago, encouraged us along the way, and have coached us. And Jen is, if you really want some exciting stuff, then you better start paying attention. Welcome, Jen. We're so happy to have you.
What a fun intro. Thank you, Frank. I'm thrilled to be here.
Oh, good. Well, tell us a little bit, what is a profit engineer?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm a business coach, and I think there's so many business coaches that are geared on how to bring in revenue, which I love, and is certainly paramount for me as well. But I just saw that I knew all these business owners who were awesome at what they did and were transforming their people's lives, and yet continue a couple years down the road, they're still scraping the bowl each month of how much money they're making. And they just weren't able to really put the foundation behind their business that gave them the profit that they wanted, the money after the bills are paid, as well as the time of, the profit is also about how much time you have, so that you really can, feel like this business is working for you and you're not just self-employed. And so it really is about this idea of taking control of your business, and making it a profitable business that's purpose-driven, very specific to what you want out of your business, that it should meet those goals.
So what's the difference between like a purpose-driven business or somebody that just wants to work on their own?
I would say intention for the most part. I think when people start off in business, particularly the entrepreneur that says, oh, I have this idea, this purpose that's on my heart that I want to go do. And they go out and they try to make it happen, but without the foundation of how should this business support me? And how do I want to best serve my people? And really thinking through the purpose of your work, of how that work's going to support your livelihood and what kind of money is going to support your livelihood, then I think people get into this hamster wheel where they're just always running. And I, so that's where I talk about self-employment is like it should be a 4-letter word where you've just replaced your job for a business that you now own. So you have all the headaches of being employed and you actually own the business. So you end up hating your boss, right? And so, but the purpose-driven business, and for me, purpose-driven profit is about getting real clear on how much money you want the business to be making. And that's going to evolve, right? But right now, what's the now money that you need to make? What's the growth money that you want to make? And then work backwards to say, what really is that number? Right? So can I give you an example?
Oh, please. Yeah, keep going.
So I had a client who had been told by coaches that her business should be able to make $10,000 a month. She was barely making $3,000 a month, right? And she found herself in this paralysis state where she couldn't do anything because she just knew that she should be able to make 10 grand. And she had all these things that she wanted to take care of and she didn't know which to put first. And so she just sat and pondered how to best move forward. And in the meanwhile, she just got herself stuck. So when we talked, she was able to say, we were able to get clear on how much money do you absolutely need to make this month, right? Like she had now money problems. And by doing that, we found that if she was making $3,500 a month, that she would be stable. She would be providing for her family in the way that her partner was expecting her and that she needed to make the business just keep churning. And so, okay, then she had this number of $3,500. Well, then she was able to, okay. So then we were able to look at her services and we quickly were able to identify what were the ones that were going to most easily bring in the cash that she needed. And so without much work, she was able to bring in more than that $3,500. I think she brought in just shy of $4,000 in that very first month. And then she had a system that she could build on. And so for the next couple of months, she was making that $4,000. And now with that adrenaline not as a part of her panic, she's able to then think, okay, how do I get to the next level, right? Like, and maybe it's 10, but maybe it's 8, maybe it's 7,500, but what are the bills that I now want to pay for? What are the things that I want to build into my life? And then you're so much more likely to go after it when you're like, I'm putting money away. Like we just bought a new dishwasher. So we sort of like, when I make that money, I'll buy a new dishwasher. Like it becomes real for you rather than this grandiose 10 grand a month that isn't tied back to your life. So that's what I mean by the purpose.
Okay, so you look at that believable level first, and then figure out where to go from there.
Well, believable, but also just like real. Like, what are the bills that you need to be paying, right? And that's going to send you down a different path. If you're like, Jen, it's towards the end of March, and I'm not sure how my mortgage is going to get paid. Well, we're not going to go build a marketing plan for 6 months down the road, right? Like you need a now money plan. Mm-hmm. And so it's going to be a hustle, but you're going to have a different strategy based on the money that's owed right now. And then we can start to build into the growth. So
you don't start to trip over the I need this now type of bit instead of the 6 months down the road of where I'm going to be. I'm concerned about, and my mindset is on the here and now.
Yeah, right. And you can't dream and get creative if you're hyperventilating because you're not sure what's going to happen to your house, or even if that level is killed, like you got your food and your shelter, well, then what comes next, right? Just knowing that your basic bills, like even maybe you just pay for your business bills, but is your website hosting being paid for? Is your G Suite, whatever the things are that support that business, your phones, internet, whatever they are, if you know that I have a plan that's going to make that happen each month, now you're stable. Now you can get into growth mode. And that's where I think it gets exciting, because then we can get strategic to design your business based on who you're going after and where do those people sit, and how the eyeball is going to come to you. Oop, I just lost you. I don't hear you.
Sorry. How did you learn this? How did this all come about and fall into place because a lot of the good coaches, and you are one of the best coaches I've ever known, is that the good coaches always learn from their experience and then bring that to the table to help others. How did you learn this, and where did it come from?
Great question. Okay, so I would say there's a couple different pieces that come to play. What would I start with? I would say first is I'm a solutions-oriented person. So I have a pretty positive, optimistic spin on most things. And so when people say, okay, I'm struggling with this and I don't quite see what it is, I had this, my brain just works in this visual where I can kind of see the pipe works of what their problems are and where is the clog. And then with seeing that, I can help them reimagine what that solution could look like. And there's a couple different ways that you could get around the obstacle. You could unclog the obstacle, right? And so I've just always had that mindset of where is it you're trying to get to, and how are you going to get there? And then with that, the profit piece, the money piece, I'm actually a little surprised by, truthfully. I'm not a numbers person. I never thought that I was like a great math person, but when it's not so much that it's a finance or a math thing as much as you're telling me you want to hit 100K this year. Okay, well, let's work backwards from where are you now? What bills do you have to get paid? And wait, you're telling me you want to charge $97 for that? Like, how is that possibly going to get there, right? So I help people see the game pieces that are at play and what are the possibilities of you being able to hit that finish line. So that's kind of the pipe works piece that for me, it's a very visual thing. And then the other piece is when I've had the curviest of career paths to here, and it involved, I'm a lawyer by trade, so I just am uber logical, everything kind of just easily gets siphoned through, data points, just I can easily bucket them out. And then I had a great career with nonprofits in general, big brothers, big sisters mostly, and I found that I was very good at going into an organization and helping them flip around to become a profitable organization. So I did that in Philadelphia, and then I did it on a national level. And then I bought an advertising business, which seemed to be out of left field. But it was the perfect fit for me and my growing family at the time. It was very much about Bucks County, which is this, the area just north of Philadelphia. And there I found that I was great at selling advertising because not only could I help people succinctly say how their business is, to differentiate their business from all the other businesses like that and create an ad for them. But I love talking about business. And so people would walk away with so much more than just this, effective ad, they had this strategy of how they were going to grow their business. And so people came to me because they knew they were going to walk away with a lot more than the ad. And I realized, I love getting you in the door. And yeah, I'll sell you an ad, but really I want to talk to you about this other thing. And so maybe the other thing is actually where I'm supposed to be. And so here I
am. Multiple streams of income, right? So as you have built this, I mean, this is Women's History Month, and we are interviewing and having guests on that are women entrepreneurs. And so what blocks or opportunities have you seen as a woman entrepreneur over the course of your lifetime?
When I was growing up, I lived with my family, my parents and my brother and my sister, but I also lived with all three of my grandmothers, my mother's mother, my father's mother, and my mother's grandmother, my great-grandmother. And so I had a lot of input about how I was to proceed in life. And foremost was my great-grandmother, who is one of my most favorite people in the world, who ran a speakeasy when she was 20-something in the 1920s. And she was arrested for wearing makeup down Main Street. So she was the Spitfire who spoke her mind and, was the bouncer of her own bar. She did the work that needed to get done.
Boy, now I see where you get it.
Man, I would love to have a chat with her now. I missed it. I didn't get the stories out of her that I would have now. But so I've always believed that I could do whatever it was that I set my mind to. I think more if I had struggles by being a woman as well, it was because I expected that I was going to do it all and it was going to be done perfectly, so I fully anticipated to be the mom and run the house and be the wife that I had in my mind, as well as whatever the business was, to run it successfully and achieve, far greater than, there was a lot of expectation about what it was that I would do. From my family and from myself. And so what I've learned in the last few years is I just think that I'm better when I don't push so hard. I've been a pusher. I've made things happen despite myself, but now I really try to be more allowing for what my tuition is telling me and to take a break when I'm tired and to go and play and, when my daughter asks and to go and, be a new student at Hogwarts, like my daughter would love for me to do every single day, that's just as important. And it actually serves me when I step away from the business. So I guess it was that I had a hard time stepping away from the business. And I always felt guilty for wherever I was. When I was working, I felt like I should have been being more time with my kids. And when I was with my kids, I was thinking about all the things I wasn't doing in the business, especially this last year when everybody, all four of us, my two kids and my husband, all were home. That was a challenge, but also probably the best lesson of how to go with the flow of doing what my gut was telling me to do.
Yeah, right before we came on the air, you told me that there was like 52 weeks that you have not, that your kids haven't been in school. And so today is the first day after 52 weeks.
Yeah. It was just coincidence that that's how it worked out. But yeah, it was exactly a year ago that the school shut down and moved to a virtual platform. And then we've been virtual ever since. But then our public school just went back to a 4-day work week or in school week. And so we decided to jump in. So it's exciting, nerve-wracking, but it's going to be a new world. I don't know. It's been terrible on so many levels, and so much loss, so much hasn't happened. But I'm also thrilled that we got to witness our children in a way that no other parent in any other generation has. Like, we've never spent this much time actively with children. Even when people didn't have that kind of work, they weren't actively saying, okay, what are we going to play today? So it was a unique opportunity that I think we'll benefit from, even though there are losses.
Well, yeah, it's kind of like anything. If you see the opportunity, you take the opportunity, you make the opportunity. Or if you look at the barrier, it's the barrier, and you create it like a barrier and treat it like a barrier. So, what kind of differences have you seen in your process and in people that you're coaching? What differences did they take an approach to how they approach their business, and did they have to, and I hate the term pivot, but transform their business, and how many of their businesses did transform into something that is better than what they were?
Well, I would definitely say that my husband was a first client, right? And so he was a great example where he's a financial advisor. He used to work for a company that had a significant minimum amount of money that you needed to be able to invest. And he took the opportunity to say, I'm going to be home. I want to talk to the people that I want to talk to. And so he had already shifted to a model where he didn't have minimums anymore, but he wasn't talking consistently enough to enough people. And so he moved to a platform where he goes live every single day on his personal profile on Facebook. And just by him talking finance and investment and what to do when GameStop is going mad, or when people were freaking out and wanting to sell everything at the beginning of COVID, like, he just came in as this voice of reason, and people flocked to his stable, consistent message. And so I think you said it so well. Are you going to see this situation as an opportunity or a barrier? That is the main difference with businesses, I think. And so he definitely saw it. And he did that while he had a major surgery the month before COVID. And he was bedbound for his first few months of those lives. And it ended up being his best year ever. So I think that's a beautiful example. But there's so many people who became more inspired and passionate by racial injustice and decided to really figure out how to reach more people of color and change their message and be more inclusive and check in with their own biases that might be getting in the way of people of color really coming to them. And I saw some businesses really shift in serving a whole new set of clientele because they were more open. So I was a huge pivot that came out of the pandemic, but not out of the pandemic, right? I think the racial injustice in part was because of the year and because of the presidency. But another example would be, I think, another person that we have in common, a massage therapist who only thought that she was capable of charging what was the going rate at the Hand and Stone down the road from her, even though she had a steady stream of clients who loved her and would only go to her because she managed their pain in a way that nobody else could. And by examining what was happening for her business and seeing that her pain management capabilities sets her apart from all other massage therapists, and that she can market herself and charge based on that. And so she went from a one-time only fee to a package opportunity that really was looking at how I help people manage pain. And so it's been a while since I talked to her, but I know at the beginning of that, she was starting to see this pivot, because not so much because of the pandemic, although that made things harder for her. So she really had to like say, okay, I'm owning this, but also I'm so much more than just a massage therapist, you know?
Yeah, as business owners, we tend to devalue our services and we devalue we are personally devalued by saying, I can never charge that much. That's overcharging. I don't believe, or we undervalue ourselves. And so we don't charge as much as we think we should charge, or we could charge, because of how we value ourselves. So what are the first steps that a business would do to say, go from where they are? They've been in business for a while, but they're like we said at the outset of the show, they're just making it, they're just paying their bills, but they know deep into their heart, deep in the back of their mind, that they can do so much more. And they got into business to fulfill their lifelong dream and to live a dream life. What are some of those steps, and what are the first things that you would suggest a business do? What are they on there?
Business owner does. How about that?
That's right. Doer does that they take. And I know the first step is to call you. What would the second step be that they would, that you would help them and suggest they take?
Yeah, no, I love that. So I believe that your business should be the profit engine of your life. And to do that, I think it's about owning and stepping into three distinct roles. It's to really step into being the entrepreneur of your business, to being the connector of your business, and the boss of your business. And so we can take that question and look at it from three different perspectives. For the entrepreneur, the main piece of that, I think, is about really understanding your secret sauce. How are you different from all the other people who are doing similar work, that really helps people identify with, you're the person for me, and being able to tell that story super clearly and in a way that people keep getting value from you over long term, so that they can build the know, like, and trust factor with you. So that's what I would say, is just spend time in that. And there's some great exercises that you can do for that. The one that, where would I say, there's a couple different ways that I look at it, but a fun one is, what are the 5 books that you think help to explain your standpoint? And when I did this exercise, I thought I knew what the books were, and then I was wrong, and so identifying what that was really helped me cull down what it was that I did in a way that I got much better at articulating. It's always going to evolve, but for where you are today, how do you articulate your secret sauce? And then be sure to articulate it to a lot of different people. And then for the connector, it's about, how do you tell that story? How do people find you that don't currently know you, and build that know, like, and trust factor with you, to the point where they can say, oh, she's talking to me. I need what she's selling, and here's my credit card. And so that's, for the most part, at the early stages of business, it's going to be using social media and using organic traffic. So finding ways for that to happen at little to no cost, other than paying for, like, it's worthwhile to have a website that really can tell your story and has a lead magnet where people can give you their address, their email, so that then you can be reaching out to them beyond the social media. So that strategy, finding the organic traffic formula for you, is very customized based on what kind of business, is it visual, all the pieces that kind of fit in there. And then the last piece is the boss of your business. And that's about the numbers. So getting super clear about how much money you actually need, at bare minimum, what you absolutely need to bring in this month and next month, and then what's the next stage of money. So for the person I talked about earlier, it was $3,500. And if she was at $4,500, here's the other additional things that she could be paying for or stocking away to build towards. And then you can reverse engineer, looking at your services, what are the different ways that you can get to that number? And so that's just a formula that I love to play with people. And we kind of map out everything that they're looking to do and seeing the different ways that it can get done.
Those are the great steps. I really love the 5 books, and I've been trying to roll in my head which 5 books I would even pick, and I'm not even sure. I'm such a book nerd, and I love those, but it's more, it's we'll have to talk a little bit more about that, because it's that 5 books of where you're attracted is really more about you wouldn't read anything that isn't a heart centered towards your core of what you're really interested in. And so that's how do you find that passion and how do you bring that out? That's really kind of a good defining moment, is what do you read?
Yeah, it was really helpful to me. And there's so many books. And so what I ended up doing is I probably spent a weekend where I was looking at books that I thought were passionate, and I would go into Amazon where you can look at the table of contents, how it has that open now opportunity. And I would like, I believe in the step formula, but I don't really care about this. And so that was informative too, just to kind of like reacquaint yourself with the books that got you where you're at and realize where you stand firmly with them and where you've already differ, and that also is informative of the process that you believe in and what is your proprietary system.
Wow. Yeah, that's so great. I could talk to you forever. I just really like that. But how do people get a hold of you now if they want to start working with you, which I would suggest everybody take this down, because you will want to have a coaching call with Jen. How do they get a hold of you then?
Awesome. So you can check out my Facebook, my personal profile, Jen Kline Clark, is a great way to see some of the videos that I'm offering. You can join Entrepreneurs Growing Purpose-Driven Businesses, my Facebook group, where there's in the next couple months, there's going to be more and more opportunities to get work done right there. And then JenKlineClark.com is my website where you can learn more about my programs, how I work with people, and schedule your, schedule a session, a discovery call with me.
Okay. And so that first discovery call is for how long, and what's the cost on that?
There is no cost for that. It's a 15-minute discovery call. Many people decide to go with a strategy session first. After the discovery call, you can just do the 90-minute, I call it a quantum leap, but it is basically what I talked about. If how much money do you need to make? Where are the different services that could get you there? And really kind of cleaning up as much as you can those 3 buckets of entrepreneur, connector, and boss, so that you can see where you want to be headed over the next couple of months. And then from there, to join, either I have a one-on-one coaching program and a group coaching.
That's an important distinction, because we have been involved in a group coaching program for the last 18 months or so, but it really didn't make an effect until I went to one-on-one with you, basically, just because it's not about the group. It was to drill down into our specific business needs and our specific business opportunities that we could start uncovering that. So there are different coaching programs out there, and many of those are through the group, and sometimes those are good because it gets you refocused, but don't forget about drilling down to the one-on-ones that you really need. So Jen, I really appreciate you being here. we're gonna bring you back, and we're going to talk about a little bit more. I want to talk about how your husband did the switch and how he's doing, because he actually did what we're doing, also going live on there, and we'll compare notes
Yeah.
on some of that. So we appreciate it. Hang in there, and I'll be right back with you here.
Okay, fun. Thank you.
Oh, hey, great guys. Let me sum this up, because you want to harness your secret sauce, find out what your unique, what are your quirkiness on that, and how will that separate you in business. You want to be the magnet, because you want to attract that perfect customer and your ideal clients. And you need to be pretty succinct and definite on who your ideal client is, and then wrap your business around that and be the boss of your business. It's not your business is running you. You need to run your business. And it's great advice from Jen, and that is Jen Kline Clark Coaching. And you can get that to her online. It's still on the screen there. Go there and just have that session. It'll just be a remarkable session. So tune in tomorrow as we continue our celebration of women, as we bring on another guest. Lee Zimmerman will help us to talk about other women and entrepreneurs in that process of how do we go there. And that's at 11:30 a.m. Central Time, Central Daylight Time, on Rural Community Solutions TV live stream on our YouTube channel, Rural Community Solutions on our Facebook page. Now, or you can catch us at anchor.fm/Frank Spillers on the podcast, Think Like an Entrepreneur, Become a Spark Plug. So on behalf of Kim, who has lost her voice and cannot be with us today, we wish you a great week. Happy spring, folks. It came in over the weekend, so we're on the uphill slide of getting warmer if you're on this side of the equator. So we hope you have a great week. Stay tuned and come back tomorrow. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.